Hello everyone. I'm back with another video. So I know it's been some time since I've done a video, and I truly am sorry about that. I have just been really busy with work. Work has become a lot more stressful the last couple of days because of the stimulus checks pouring in, and people want to come and they want to buy food, and that's all good and great and stuff. But yesterday we almost had to shut our doors down because we almost ran out of bread, and we were having a dickens of a time trying to find more bread that we could serve. So we were very fortunate that a friend of ours did in fact have bread and delivered it. Other than, if that had not happened, we would have had to shut our doors down for the night. All because if you don't have bread, you can't serve the food. So, yeah. So, So today I want to be talking about something that has really been in the Hellenic communities, at the tip of Hellenic's mouths for the last couple of days. I know Pick the Pagan did a video about it, and so I wanted to chime in my own 2 cents. This isn't a live video, as most people will probably know by now, just because it pops up immediately on your feed. But I just think it's something that needs to be said. I'm not going to make this a super long video because I got to go out and buy food, but I thought it was important to put this out there because this could apply to any kind of piece of literature that is deemed foreign to people's modern day sensibilities. Okay. So a couple days ago, I had read an article that this Massachusetts, and I did verify it is Massachusetts. Massachusetts school actually had Homer's The Odyssey banned from the school. Not just, you can't read, you can't, it's not, okay, so I'll explain something. When I was in high school, you had to read certain kinds of books that the school board had deemed, or the state had deemed, essential for graduation. So apparently, this is not the state that did it, it's a school that did it. They banned the Odyssey from the reading curriculum, meaning that students would not have the ability to actually read this book. They just didn't ban it from the list, they actually took it out of the library. So if students wanted to go to the library and read the book, they could not because it has been banned from the school. So I kind of was thinking about this last night, and I was like, I really need to find out what is going on. Where does this idea of banning books that have material that is not in line with how people believe, or the line that they want you to believe, where does this come from? And so I actually discovered an article that back in the 1970s, there was a professor in, it was, I don't remember, it's really bad. I think it might have been, what's it? No. Okay, my brain has just gone blank. But it was the capital of the Confederacy, and so this professor brought in some college students who are now elderly, and gave them a piece of history. It was the meeting of Grant and Lee. They were basically coming together to hash out the conditions of Lee's surrender to the Union. And so the students could read the text. They could, you could sit down, they could read it, meaning that they were taught how to read when they were younger, but they couldn't comprehend it. And the reason they couldn't comprehend it was they had never been taught this. And this is known as cultural illiteracy. It's not illiteracy as in you can't read a billboard or you don't know that means that pull means you pull the door open. It is your brain cannot comprehend what you are reading because you were never exposed to that. That's cultural illiteracy. That's the definition of cultural illiteracy. It is the inability to understand something from a cultural context. So when you have a school in Massachusetts that bans the Odyssey, and they are, this article I'm reading from AZ Central, Make America Read Again. People can take the Donald Trump slogan and just twist it however they want. But it's not just any books. Pick up Homer's Odyssey or anything from F. Scott Fitzgerald, Dr. Seuss, Nathaniel Hawthorne before those classics are mobbed. Now, Nathaniel Hawthorne was anti-Puritan, and he wrote scathing books about them. He wrote one particular scathing book about them. I kid you not. Conservatives are grasping at the Wall Street Journal. Megan Cox Goldorn wrote a column that critical thinking ideologists, school teachers, and Twitter agitators are purging and propagandizing. Please stop trying to introduce me to very long words that I do not understand the see what I mean by that? Against classic tests. Apparently the mob that caught Gouldorn's attention is a Seattle English teacher who in 2018 tweeted that he'd rather die than teach the Scarlet Letter and overall efforts under the hashtag Disrupt Text. Now the Scarlet Letter, for people who did not actually read the book, the Scarlet Letter was basically a woman who had a letter on her dress. It was H for harlot, or H for harlot. It might have been it was an H for harlot or an A for adulteress, but it was a letter on her clothes, and she had to wear this letter on her body, and that is to let everyone know that she opens her legs for anyone, in a sense. But she's an adulteress, she's a harlot. The Scarlet Letter was written by Nathaniel Hawthorne, and Nathaniel Hawthorne used it to show his anti-Puritan thinking or belief. Of course, nothing triggers greater curiosity than even suggestion that something be banned. In this case, classic book from high school classrooms. I did read the Scarlet Letter when I was in high school, but I didn't wait until I was in actual age group to actually read it. I actually read it when I was about 14, and it was a very interesting book. You can really tell in the book Nathaniel Hawthorne's anti-Puritan sentiments. The Twitter handle Disrupt Text describes itself as a movement to rebuild the literary canon using an anti-bias, anti-racist, critical literacy lens. Gordon highlights social media posts under the slogan to make her overreach argument that classic texts are being mobbed and censored. Include this tweet from, alright. Be like Odysseus and embrace the long haul to liberation, and then take the Odysseus out of your curriculum because it's trash. To which Heather Levine replied, haha, very proud to say we got the Odyssey removed from the curriculum this year. Levine, an English teacher at Lawrence High School in Massachusetts, explained on Twitter after an apparent flood of criticism that no books were banned but were simply excluded, and that, yes, among them was Homer's Odyssey. Gordon and any reasonable person would argue that is nothing short of censorship, a bet not sanctioned by any school district. It is a polite version of burning books, a Wall Street Journal reader suggested. Another reader named Peter says banning books is an act of cowardice performed by people who fear the ideas they want to hide and suppress. Now, this goes back to, book burning or book censorship or anything that that keeps people away from ideas that society does not want them to have goes back a very, very long time. If you look at what the church did to millions of texts that have been lost or we only have fragments of, this was one of the earliest forms of book censorship. This was a minority that had gained so much power, they were able to overtake the majority of people, take away their books, take away their ability to critically think, and you have a clay that is moldable to whatever you want to mold it into. When the printing press was invented and books were being published, the church had a list of banned books, and of course one of them happened to be the English version of the Bible. The Bible at one time, yes, the book that you can buy off of Amazon for $24.99 used to be black market merchandise. If you had it, you could get burned at the stake. If you were reading it to a blind person, like one guy got burned at the stake for reading the book to his blind mother, that could happen to you. During the Russian Revolution, Lenin had books censored, I do believe books burned, and of course he had all the intellectuals killed. People that knew about history were killed. Hitler was a proponent, was a supporter of burning books, especially books from Jewish authors, books by intellectuals. He wanted to control what people were reading. And when you have Homer the Odyssey, when you have Dr. Seuss, when you have Nathaniel Hawthorne, people whose literary works were important to this country, to understanding the past and how to avoid bringing that into the present, these books were highly influential, especially Nathaniel Hawthorne, especially the Malleus Maleficarum. That book was very instrumental in what we don't want in our country. And all these, trials of people being burnt at the stake for witchcraft, old laws that the framers deemed to be horrible. If you didn't have these things written down, they were easy to be forgotten. Call it banning or excluding, the end result is the same. I give the gist of Disrupt Text, which is a methodological and deliberate look for books that better reflect all aspects of our cultural and historical heritage. But they're doing it wrong, as in the hypocritical society led by so-called conservatives who censor dozens of books from Tuscan classrooms a few years ago, just because they thought those books promoted anti-American sentiments. That was nonsense. There was nothing anti-American about, it was, Bless Me Ultima. I probably butchered the title of the book. The acclaimed 1972 coming-of-age novel set in post-World War II that was among the censored books in the district. Censoring Anya was wrong. Censoring The House on Mango Street by Sandra, The Devil's Hired by Louis Uria is in Tucson was wrong. Just as it is wrong to censor or exclude Homer's Odyssey, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Dr. Seuss, and Nathaniel Hawthorne. If anything, the classics must be contextualized in the classroom with diverse and contemporary authors. I hope that all this talk of censoring books from Latino authors in the Southwest to the classics will instead inspire you to read them again or for the first time. Yeah. So that is what exactly happened. So it doesn't matter if you are a Hellenist or a lover of classic novels, or you're a heathen, or you're a Wiccan, or whatever. If you have children, I don't have them, and every time I read about how crappy the school system is, I'm very glad I don't have them, because I don't want to cause my children's minds to get polluted with, anti-intellectual or anti-whatever. I want my kids to be able to sit down and be able to read whatever book they want. Be able to go to the school library and pull out whatever book they want and be able to check it out and read it and develop their own ideas. Become their own intellectuals. But when you have people that are bent and determined to bring forward the most disturbing and disgusting aspect of our past, we really have to look at them and say, okay, where have we seen this before, and what was the end result of what these people did? Because that is the only way that we're going to stop this. Yes, I understand that people don't like anti-Semitism or anti-Semitism and homophobia and transphobia and all this other stuff that turns men into monsters. But we have to understand we have to read books from people that were against these types of things. You look at Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was very anti-Puritan. What other books did he write? I know he wrote The Scarlet Letter. Hawthorne. Let's see here. Okay. Here it is. Got away from my internet. Ooh. Okay, so Nathaniel Hawthorne, born July 4th, 1804, Salem, Massachusetts, U.S., died in 1864. He wrote The Scarlet Letter, and The House of the Seven Gables. Alright. So that says, it was a Scarlet Letter, Marble Fawn, The Celestial Railroad, Roger Mulligan's Burial, Twice Told Tales, Young Goodman Brown, The House of Seven Gables, My Kin, Major something, Mosses from the Old Man's Sea, and Dr. Helgeden's Experiment. And he was part of the American Renaissance movement. Hawthorne's ancestors had lived in Salem since the 17th century. His earliest American ancestor, William Hawthorne, added the W to the name when he began to write. He was a magistrate who was sentenced a Quaker woman to public whipping. He had acted as a staunch defender of Puritan orthodoxy, and with his zealous advocate for a pure, So, and was asking if his decline in family prosperity and prominence during the 18th century, while other Salem families were growing wealthy from lucrative shipping trade, might not be retribution for this act and for the role of William's son John as one of the three judges in the Salem witchcraft trials, 1692. When Nathaniel's father, a ship captain, died during one of his voyages, he left his young widow without means to care for her two girls and young Nathaniel, aged 4. So the little bit of a biography of Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was a very interesting author, and definitely made his own mark. And I think that when you have a school district, or when you have people that say, we need to ban the Scarlet Letter because of blah blah blah, you kind of wonder where they're coming from. And I recommend anyone pick up his books, read them, read Fitzgerald's books, read Dr. Seuss, and everything. I still like How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. Uh, yeah, Jim Carrey. That was funny, but Jim Carrey, he sort of became claustrophobic from that movie, but from all that makeup and everything that he had to wear, which is, I feel so bad for the poor man. But anyways, but we cannot be having this type of censorship because we are already classified as being culturally illiterate. We are just now just raising another generation of culturally illiterate people. Yes, our cultural heritage is sometimes something that you're not supposed to be proud of and all that type of stuff. But it is there, unfortunately, for the world to see that, yeah, you go to Greece, you love the ruins and you love the stories about the gods, but you don't want to read the literature, which in Greece, you have to read about the Iliad and the Odyssey. Also, before I go, I want to note the stuff behind me. Let me just move it up here because right here. Those are this one and this one. Yeah, and for a second I thought I had lost the third one. Over there, those are all done by a painter in France. Very nice. I do happen to like them. Yeah. So I'm going to end it here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope it was some food for thought because it just seems like something that has to be mentioned. So I will see you guys around. Until next time, may you be happy, healthy, and most importantly, be safe. Bye.